Welcome to the Money Savvy Parents podcast, the podcast for entrepreneurial parents to work towards becoming financially invincible to then pass that vital life skill down through the generations. I am your host, Laura, mother to 3 beautiful children and founder, financial strategist for Savvy Peacocks. Each week, we'll be delving into a new money topic to get you and your family more money savvy. Let's remove the taboo from money together. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my podcast. Today, I am honoured to be here having a discussion with the lovely Elizabeth Willets, who I've met through starting my business. I think it was actually LinkedIn we met, wasn't it, Elizabeth?
Yeah, LinkedIn, yeah. Do you know what? LinkedIn's so good.
Yeah, it's the power of social media, isn't it, that you can come across different people. And, you know, sometimes you just click with certain people, and I definitely feel like I had that with you. So do you want to share who you are and what you do, and then we'll delve into our topic for today?
Yeah, absolutely. So hi, everybody. Thank you for listening. My name is Elizabeth Willets, and I am the founder of a job board and community called Investing in Women. So the job board aims to help people find flexible and part-time working opportunities with forward-thinking and family-friendly employers throughout the UK. And then I have a Facebook community called Working Mums UK, and through that and on LinkedIn, I host weekly lives with experts on various different topics, all aimed at empowering women in the workplace and at home to climb those career ladders and smash those glass ceilings.
Yeah, and you know, just to kind of have that in summary, we need to be careful we're not here all day talking about this subject, because I think we're both fairly passionate about women in the workplace and flexible working and all of those things. So, Elizabeth, obviously I came across you and your wonderful business, and what I fell in love with is this values around flexible working. But I'm interested to know how you got into running your own business as a mum, as a working mum, why you made that decision and how you ended up coming to running your own business.
Yeah, so I was made redundant, one of those unfortunate people that were made redundant during the height of the pandemic. At the end of my second maternity leave, I was part-time at my previous employer, which was a large corporate. I wanted another part-time job, couldn't find one for love nor money. And, you know, every time a recruiter approached me and I said, would they consider part-time? They said no straight away or ghosted me. So I actually got really cross. I was following certain people on social media. I thought I wanted to do something to change that. And, you know, I'm being honest, I was probably forced a little bit into self-employment as well, because, like I said, I couldn't find another part-time or flexible job. And I think that is the case for a lot of people, and a lot of the reasons why so many women do become freelancers and self-employed, because they can't find the stimulating work at their level, at their pay scale in some employers. So,
and this is why, though, this is why there's such talent in the small business, because, you know, these are women like you and I that come from corporate backgrounds. We've got all these transferable skills, but we need to run our lives on our terms.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't know about you, but there's lots of organizations out there that say that they're flexible.
Yeah.
And actually, when push comes to shove, they're really not.
It's not that flexible, and it's disappointing.
Just put that word in there to look good. Let's face it.
There's a lot of good PR. The PR people are getting paid well.
Yeah, and actually, I think when I reflect on my experience in corporate, is that, you know, I had to make up my own rules almost, because they had flexible working in their terms and conditions, but it was open to interpretation as to how the managers managed that. So my team were really fortunate. I was really flexible with them, but a team down the road that was being managed by someone else that was just going by the letter of the law wasn't as flexible. So that's the other unfair element, isn't it? Sometimes it's about who line manages you as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You needed the flexibility because you've got 2 children, is that right?
2 children, yes. So they were 1 and 3 at the time, so they're 3 and 4 now. And
are you getting that flexibility? Are you happy with the balance?
I am. I mean, like every small business, I'm probably working more hours than I was working when I was in corporate. Well, I know I am, but I am working it around my family. So, you know, I'm there for school pickups and drop-offs which is what I wanted, and then catching up on work in the evening when they've gone to bed. So I think it is working because it's working on my terms. And I actually spoke to somebody else. I think what's the nice thing about running your own business, it's not just about the hours, but you also have the flexibility of doing the work you want to do and being able to pivot. And I think that's quite nice, and being more creative in terms of your everyday responsibilities. So
it takes time to get your head around that though, doesn't it? Because I remember when I first started, particularly when you're working in the same industry, for me, my case, financial services, I feel like 20 years of working in a corporate environment has meant that I've thought that that's the only way we can do things. And, you know, the policies and procedures and are all sort of ingrained in you. One thing that I actually really struggled with was being able to have my own opinion. Because when we worked at the bank, we were told, you know, be careful of what you put on social media. You know, you've got the reputation to protect, and anything that comes out of your mouth, if you're linked to us, then obviously that could be damning on our reputation. Whereas now it's like, I can say whatever I want.
That is lovely, and it's freeing. It's very liberating.
Yeah, it's freeing, it's free. So let's start off talking about the flexible working side of things, and then we'll go into how you help people. So I've always been passionate about flexible working, even before I was a parent, but I've got to be honest, I did think I knew what it was to be a parent, and I really didn't until I was actually a parent. But in your opinion, why do you think flexible working is so important, and what does flexible working mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, flexible working, to me, it means having more control over your time and being more output, measured on output rather than necessarily the hours you're working. I mean, I remember doing 9 to 5 in all my previous jobs. And being honest, sometimes I'd get to 3 o'clock and I'd sort of finish my work and I'd have to stay there for presenteeism's sake until it got to 5:30 or whatever. So that to me is flexible working. Having work, I mean, obviously I hear, you know, stories, as we all do, people having to cram in a full-time job in 3 or 4 days, getting less pay. So obviously the work you need to be given needs to be realistic in terms of how many, you know, your contract, but I think a lot more freedom as to how you manage your time when things are delivered, you know, within certain time frames. That to me is flexible working.
I suppose with that though comes a piece around trust.
Yes,
and
hiring the right people,
finding the right people, staying close to them, but not micromanaging. It's a real balance, isn't it?
Real balance. And you know, I get there's a flip side, because I know when I first started working, you know, back when I was 21, I did need a lot of hand holding, and you know, I did actually need that micromanagement then, until I started finding my feet. I think as a manager, it's assessing as well who you're managing, what stage they're at in their career, how much can you trust them, and then, you know, as you can trust them, not treating them like you did when, you know, you might treat other people within your team.
Yeah, and opening up that communication. I have always said, you know, if something's not quite fitting right, or you need more work, or you've got too much, or you're stressed out about this, or this is too easy, or you need some training on that, let's talk about it. You know, even if you can't see a way forward, I'm sure between us we can work a way forward.
Yeah, I think so. And I think, you know, I mean, a lot of organizations are very hierarchical. And actually, I mean, we were going to talk with me a little bit about teams, but now I've, like you, started bringing a couple of people on. I don't view myself as like a boss or anything like that. I think we're all a team. We've all got the same objective. We all want to make our, you know, make our organization. And I think that actually works. You hire people and they're a team and they help you. It's not you just bossing them and ordering them about.
Yeah, but I think that comes down to hiring the right person, doesn't it? And, you know, the relationship that you build. So let's talk about that. So I actually started building my team really early on in my business, and everyone was like, what are you doing? But
I'm really interested to hear, because I've been a lot more conservative and timid than you hiring. So and I've waited until I was stressed, overworked, and too late. So I think about, I know that
this is the problem that a lot of small businesses make. They wait until it's too late. They wait until, right, I'm on breaking point now, I need to get someone in to help me. And it is a balance. And I recognise that to grow, I needed more time, and I can't make more time for myself. So I needed to use someone else's time to do the things to then free me up to do other activities that needed me physically there. The other element of it is that I found running my own business on my own very lonely. Having come from a corporate background and managing teams throughout the whole of the 20 years, even though I've created a great network and I've got a brilliant network around me of different business owners, it's not quite the same as someone actually being in your business.
Yes.
And I'll tell you the other thing that sort of crossed my mind is that a lot of small businesses, particularly online businesses, use virtual assistants. And I couldn't work out how that would benefit me, because virtual assistants don't just work for you, they might work for other businesses at the same time. I'm going to pay them a sizable amount of money, anything from £25 to £35, £40 an hour. So I struggled to get my head around that, because I was thinking the amount of hours that I would be able to buy would be limited. So I set myself a budget, and I think I worked out I could afford 10 hours a month from a virtual assistant. And that just didn't seem enough for me. And with my experience of building teams and, you know, happy to be able to advertise and interview and create job descriptions, it felt natural to me. But I can understand why that doesn't feel natural to others that have not had that experience in the past.
Yeah, I think as somebody that's hired freelancers rather than someone working directly for me, I think and this is me being more conservative than and a bit more timid, is to test if there is a role there, if I do have the work. That, you know, I think I viewed it more as sort of, let's see if this role is needed for 6 months. Yes, obviously paying a premium, get that. And then in 6 months' time, then bring people in-house. I understand there is so many benefits to having somebody working directly for you, only for you. You get that team, you get more, you know, perhaps they you know, are more bought in as well if they're only working for you. So I absolutely understand why you'd want to do that.
Yeah, so I understand what you're saying. You know, people absolutely could start with a VA and then branch out into the team. I suppose my concern, the reason why I didn't do that, is I was thinking, how am I going to find someone as good as a VA? Because the VAs, you know, in the online space, if you get the right one, they're extremely talented and they're very good at what they do. And they are worth that sort of £25 an hour. And if I want to branch into building a team and finding someone that I'm going to pay £10, £11, £12 an hour, are they going to be as good?
Yeah.
Do
you know what? It's interesting, because I guess a lot of it comes down to is, I think, a time perspective. You probably feel that you've invested time in a VA or a permanent person, and I get that as well. And then, you know, you feel like you've trained them up, they know your business, they know how it works, and then that's the scary thing. But I think that's the thing, you know, for businesses all sizes, you know, if you've got somebody good, will they leave? And then, you know, if they leave, will you find somebody else as good? Yeah.
Yes. It's an interesting one, isn't it? So if someone's listening in now and they're thinking, they're right, it's time for me to build a team, what's the sort of process like? I'm interested to talk that through with what you've seen, and then I could share my experience. So where's the best place to start if someone wants to start building?
I suppose the best place to start is to think about, I mean, it depends upon the size of your business, the size of your team, but thinking about what you need this person to do. So if you're a small business, what are the cogs that need to be turned in order to run your business and make money, and what cogs can you outsource, whether that's to a freelancer or somebody that you employ internally. So actually, I think you need to break down what actually needs to happen within your team or business in order for it to thrive, and then think about the job specification and the person specification. So what will this person be doing then on a day-to-day basis to help that happen? And what do you need that person to have in terms of skills and experience? And from there, you can start to build the job description and a job advert. So that's probably the foundation, really, thinking about what you need and who you need.
Yeah, see, it's funny that you brought this up, right? Because my experience in the past has taught me that job description piece and the clarity around what you want that person to do is really important.
Yeah.
And funny enough, I got approved for a Kickstarter, and a lot of my sort of network also applied and didn't get approved for a Kickstarter. And I think one of the reasons is because of how comprehensive and clear my job description was in comparison, because I've had this conversation with them. When you're advertising or when you're looking for someone to, building your team up, there's that level of professionalism, but there's a way of doing it, isn't there, with the job description and the job advert to attract the right people. I've had other conversations with people where they've tried advertising to build a team, and then the people that come through aren't great, they're not of a great level, and so they feel like it's a bit of a waste of time. So I think that job description and the advert is actually really important for yourself, but it's also important to be able to communicate to anybody that might be interested in working with you.
Yeah, actually, I do think it's fair, the most fair thing to you and to the candidate, because you want to attract the right people, and the person, it's fundamentally down to you and your business needs.
Yeah,
it's also being realistic. So does that person exist? And then sort of maybe some of the things that are must-haves then within your advert and your job description, and then maybe some of the things you can flex on, so where maybe you could train people up. Well, but I think the more clear you can get, the better it will be for you, because you won't waste time interviewing people that, blatantly unsuitable, at least on paper. And there it is for them as well, because you're managing their expectations before they start.
Yeah, sometimes I think less is more on those things, because people don't want to read it and think, oh, I haven't got, there's half those things I haven't got. Or
That's why I think, so think about what you must have are, and then you flex, and then maybe you could strip back on the things that are flexible, because there is quite a lot of studies that show men apply for roles if they feel they meet 50 or 60% of the person's specification, whereas women only apply if they think they meet 100%. So there needs to be some stretch for people, particularly I think in bigger organisations and large organisations, when they can offer progression. Yeah, so it's interesting. I think a lot of it depends upon your business, what you need, the size of your business, and where you're at. Because a smaller business obviously does want to offer development. I mean, this is me speaking from a small business. I also need somebody to be able to run with it. Whereas if I'm in a larger corporation, which I've worked in the past, you've got a lot more resources you can draw on internally to offer training and development. There is more progression within an organisation as well. So I think a lot of it depends upon the size of your organisation as well.
Yeah. And what I loved when I came across you was that I did that job description, and yes, I could advertise my job anywhere, and it's a bit of a, suck it and see. You don't really know what's going to come forward. Whereas when I advertised with you, I knew that the applicants you had were already aligned to my values around flexible working, and there were women, predominantly mums. So I knew automatically that anybody that I interviewed through your program was going to be sort of half suited. They were almost halfway there,
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I really loved. But talking about that interview process, I mean, I was really fortunate. The level of applicants I had was, I had a choice, which is always nice. But I wanted to just mention, if anybody's listening and thinking that this is a route for them, I want to give you some permission to say no to some people, because
and it's hard to say no.
It's so hard, because you want to build a team and you think, oh yeah, that person could do it, and I've not had many other applicants. But if there's any red flags or any doubt in your mind, don't go there. It's not worth the risk, particularly if you're going to bring them on into your own team, because the right person will come at the right time. It's the same with a lot in business, isn't it? We've got to trust the process and trust that things will happen at the right time. Please don't jump into just hiring the first person that's 50% okay, because there's a few red flags that you can part with, because don't go there. It's not worth it, is it? So they kind of put together that job description, advertise it.
Yes, so you can advertise it on various job boards. My job board is Investing Women, which focuses on flexible and part-time work, but there are obviously other job boards as well. I mean, it depends upon your budget. You can just post and share the post on LinkedIn, or local Facebook groups. You can pay obviously recruitment companies and headhunters to find you something, particularly if it's something a little bit more niche that you're looking for. So there's a lot of ways you can get your job advert out there.
Yeah. Would you say that it's best for people to start with the free options and see what interest they get, or is it really down to what type
I think
of
it's just, I don't know really if that's the best way, because I think it depends upon your vacancy and what you're looking for as to whether you've got that time to waste on those free options that may or may not provide what you're looking for. Because yeah, it depends how urgent you need to hire somebody. If you need someone like tomorrow, you're going to have to probably go to a recruitment agent that's got people on their books. If it's very, very niche, you're probably not going to find them on a free ad.
No. Well, I can say from my experience, I would have paid you thousands of pounds for the people that you sent my way, because they were, it was so nice to have a choice. I think there was 3 or 4 of them. I could have had any one of them. It made the job really difficult to choose, because they were all of such a high quality. And I ended up choosing the lovely Sheila, who I'm not sure I can see my life without her, to be honest, because she's so like open to everything, wanting to try new things, coming up with ideas. I can really see her being part of my business.
Oh, it's lovely when you find that person.
Oh, so lovely. And I would have paid money, I would have paid thousands of pounds for that. So I think you're absolutely right. You've got to think about, it's an investment, isn't it, at the end of the day?
It's an investment. I do kind of think if you want to pay some, if you want to, your business, the staff is what's going to make your business, isn't it? You've got to have the right people, otherwise your business just doesn't exist, or it won't provide the level of service. So my job board, at the moment it starts at £195 for an ad, but at the time of our recording, and I think that is an investment, but it's not a huge investment, and in the grand scheme of things, it's a really small investment when you're paying somebody a lot in salary and stuff. To have, like you said, half vetted candidates, depends really what sort of way you're going and posting your ad, but there are specialist niche job boards like mine that are going to attract certain types of individuals. I've previously worked in a recruitment agency, which is obviously a bit more expensive, but you only pay if they find you someone as well.
Yeah, and the other thing I don't like about recruitment agencies, and I'm sorry for anyone that's listening in that's into recruitment, I don't like the approach that they have around finding applicants. I find that element of it quite sleazy. I've had times in the past where I've been sort of headhunted or approached, and I'm sorry to anyone that's listening, but I put them in the same hole as estate agents. I just do. I can't help it. Whereas what you've done is similar but refreshing, and you do it in a nice way, and I love the fact that you've niched down with the flexible working. For me, that's like tip number 1, because it's a win-win for Sheila and I.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I employ a couple of people now, but they're all part-time, and I love, as a small business, it's brilliant because I feel I'm getting really good skills and experience at a level that I can afford. Which is so good for me.
When I say flexible working, what I'm talking about is, I've agreed with Sheila how many hours a week she works. It's only 10 hours a week, so we've started off small to grow. She can choose whatever 10 hours she wants. And if that wants to be different every single week, then that can be different every week. I don't really care what 10 hours she does. She's got her list of things that she needs to get done every week and every month and every day. And for her, she likes to run it around her baby, who's sort of 18 months old. So she kind of often does it around his naps and stuff. It's a win-win. And that is flexible working. And I think we're so lucky that we're in this digital world where remote working is actually becoming more and more popular, isn't it?
Yeah, because I was going to say, have you met Sheila face to face?
I have once at Christmas. Nice. We had a little Christmas party, the two of us.
Yeah, nice.
We went into London Bridge, and we've talked already about getting together again soon because of the Kickstarter that started with us. So it'd be good to get the 3 of us together. But we just got on like a house on fire. It was fantastic. And you're right though. You could hire anybody anywhere in the country and never actually meet them. There's lots of people I've worked with and outsourced to that I've never met face to face. So anything's possible in this digital world. That's where we've got to
it's mental. But in a good way.
So I've got one final question before we go on to how people can find out more about you. The common blocker when people are thinking about building a team is all the HR-y bits, like contracts and policies and holidays and pensions and all that kind of stuff. Is there a place people can go, or a way in which people can approach that side of it? Because it seems scarier than it actually is, right?
Yeah, you probably know, because I'll be honest, I personally have only hired freelancers, so they've sent me the contracts. But I know so many independent HR people that now work like as HR consultants for small businesses like mine. So I know that when I'm ready to bring people in-house, they would be my first port of call to help me draft contracts and help me understand things like holiday pay, etc. But you probably know more about it if you've brought Sheila on in-house.
Yeah, so I would always suggest that if you don't have a clue and you're really worried about it, then absolutely use an external HR to do a one-off employee setup type, agreement. That definitely exists. And if anyone is interested, I've probably got a couple of contacts of people that could do that for you. And I think what's probably daunting is the whole, I have to have policies and procedures in place. Yes, you have to have a contract. If they're remote working, you need to have some kind of agreement with that. If you're going to lend them equipment, then obviously you need to have an agreement with that. And within your contract, you can outline most of your sort of terms and conditions around how to report for sickness, holiday, all that kind of stuff. So that was all built into the contracts. I actually put Sheila on a 0 hours contract, which suited her and suited me, because we didn't want to get to a point where there was huge notice periods. So that flexible working was really important. So a 0 hours contract. With the pensions, can't remember the exact figure, but there's a threshold. It's around 800, something like that, a month. Then they're below the pension threshold. It's kind of in line with the tax threshold. So the tax threshold is something like 700 odd, isn't it? But anyway, it's in line with that. So if you go above that, you have to provide a pension option for them, which is where it becomes more complex. So I would suggest that would come when your business is on a bigger scale and sort of having a large
schemes you can find online, actually, because I have Googled actually myself. If you type in I think there's some government ones.
Yeah, there are, but to be able to offer a company pension just makes it a bit more complex, and also you're then tied to that person for quite a long time, because obviously they're going to then call on it when they're retired in 40 or 50 years time. So yeah, so that you've got the pension side of it. So I would try and keep it below the threshold, and you have to report to the pensions regulator whether you are or you aren't offering a pension. And then aside from that, I would suggest using an accountant to do your payroll. So I already had an accountant, and then my payroll, I think it's something like £85 as a one-off fee to set up payroll, and then they just do the pay slips automatically. So I just tell them the amount of hours she works, and they just send me the pay slips, and then I just pay it from the bank account. So it's really easy.
Oh, that is easy. It's not you're selling it to me now.
really easy. People sort of think that it's much more than it is. And I think because of that flexible working, it means that, there's an element of trust between us. And I know that she's not going to sort of push the boundaries. And I know that if I'm flexible with her, she's flexible back. So there's that element of trust as well. So there's been times with COVID and stuff like that where she hasn't been able to work. And so we've kind of said, okay, well, you can either make up those hours or you can just have them as unpaid sick leave, whatever. So there's that element of flexibility as well, which I think is quite nice to be able to offer. So it's not as daunting as you think. Get some expert help, do it on your terms. And yeah, that's my piece of advice. I think whichever way you look at it, what we're saying is to carry on being able to work flexible in your own business. The key is to outsource, build a team.
I do think that's right. I do think having brought people on, whether you're in-house or outsourced, it actually does enable you to grow.
Yeah, exactly.
You can focus on the growth bits of your business if you are giving that day to day. All the stuff you have to day to day that are quite routine and keep you bogged down. It's really good if you can pass that to somebody else. Then that is such a good thing to do.
Yeah. So if people want to get started on this stuff and they like what they've heard from you, Elizabeth, tell us where people can find you, what the setup is, and just do a little reminder around.
Yeah, so the job board is called Investing in Women, and I've got a free job advert template if people are thinking about how to write a job advert, and blog posts on how to write a job advert. So that would hopefully help you if you're thinking of hiring somebody. And in terms of how it works, so the job board is focused on people looking for flexible and part-time work. We've got a really large community now, professional people that are looking for work on part-time or remote or flexible basis. So if you post a role, I'm sure there'll be somebody within my community like Sheila that would love the opportunity to work for you.
I always say everyone needs a Sheila in their life. Now she's part of my world. Everyone needs a Sheila in their life, but we've all met people like that, haven't we? So
yeah, we have. Oh, do you know, it's so nice when you meet the right person.
It is.
Because you're with them all the time. You're with them a lot, even though like you rely on them a lot, don't you? And you've got that, you see them and speak to them on a daily basis. It needs to work.
Well, I'm definitely going to be coming your way as my team builds and grows. I can't wait to carry on working with you and finding new ways to carry on building my team. Thank you so much.
That's all right. Thank you for having me. Yeah.
Thank you to the listeners, and whatever you're up to today, I hope you have an awesome day. Take care.
Thank you so much for listening to the Money Savvy Parents podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, then please subscribe to be alerted to the new episodes. If you want to learn more about your relationship with money, then start off by taking my Money Languages quiz on my website, www.savvypeacocks.co.uk. Let's remove the taboo from money together.